Hey, this is April, and this show, SetSet Show, discusses cannabis, psychedelics, and altered states of consciousness generally. It's intended for audiences 21 and over. Also, I am not a medical expert. If you are looking to engage with psychedelic substances, please consult your physician before doing so. Hi, it's April again, your host here on SetSet Show and the CEO of SetSet. We're back for our second part of our conversation with Joe Robinson, who is the creator of PsiloSafe, which is an organization working to standardize testing and labeling of psilocybin products for consumer protection ahead of regulatory bodies, because people are consuming mushrooms and they're not always consuming safe mushroom products. As you're trying to figure out microdosing, go to SetSet website, that's getsetset.com, and download our clinician-created 12-week microdosing protocol. Enjoy the second part of my conversation with Joe. Do you have any directed advice for people when they are looking for a facilitator, maybe questions to ask or sites that they can start their search?
We're working with a couple groups right now that I'm going to just keep anonymous, but we're not in the business of vetting practitioners or facilitators, but I would say ask those to get a referral.
Yeah. Okay.
Get a
Great.
referral,
Great
start slow,
advice.
use your intuition. That's the only way that I'll do it personally, is if I have a referral that they work for somebody.
Yeah.
But
And if anyone's listening, you can DM GetSet on Instagram if you are looking for a referral. Yeah. Yeah.
But intuition is everything too. If somebody's trying to get you to do something too fast, or your question process or their technique or the way that they're communicating, they stay away, because there are some people that are more self-serving in this, and they'll take advantage of people that are vulnerable. So we don't want that to happen. And we also want to make sure that the medicine that you take is maximizing the situation that you can have. It's a big leap of faith for a lot of people to come and decide psychedelics. Want to make sure that they're properly handled and they're properly cared for, and the space is a safe one. And then the third pillar would be safety for the medicine. So that would be looking at cultivators, product manufacturers, and branding people alike, myself, and just making sure that the packages are labeled properly, with child safety, there's proper background information if you need to dig a little deeper with that manufacturer, that material has been cultivated and produced in a fashion that is relevant for therapeutic purposes. We're talking about sentient fungi here in this case. They're very much part of us, and they need to be handled as such. When there's cultivators out there and there's manufacturers out there that are very much about the psychedelics movement to make that money, and that's cool. Get it. There's like some of these like chocolate bars that are out there.
Let's talk about that. That's huge headlines too in the last 6 months.
I wouldn't even see it's product safety, but it's also like the relevance of the product. The people that we work with, the people that are in the PsiloSafe network, they're cultivating mushrooms for therapeutic purposes. There's a certain way to handle them. There's a certain vibration that you want to have around them. Some of them are playing music. Some of them are really caring for their fungi or plant babies. Either way, it's going to carry it all the way through the chain. And that's the way that they harvest. That's the way that they cure them. That's the way that they store them. The way that they're handled for post-manufacturing. PsiloSafe certified products are from spore to cure, in a way that are relevant for this channel of therapy. So many therapists and psychiatrists and doctors that are in our network that are working a little bit outside of their license, and psychotherapists are like, yo, we want to get involved, but where do we go for the meds? The whole landscape.
That's the question.
Where do I go? What do I use? And so to your point, there's a whole market segment out there that's just like the opportunist side. I get all these Instagram and Facebook ads now. Like, I'm bombarded with this space gummy and polka dot and MK this. And the more you look into these particular products, and I'm not even going to term them as medicine. They're psychedelic products that are in an unregulated market, and most of them don't even contain mushrooms.
Yeah, they have 4-MAO DMT, which is ACO. Sorry. Yeah, 4-ACO. I'm going to get it right one day. 4-ACO. Yeah. So why don't you talk about what that is and why it would be substituted for psilocybin or psilocybin?
Yeah. So this is a Hoffman-derived molecule, and this is a research chemical. So 4-ACO-DMT, it can be produced very inexpensively and can be used from a research perspective when you don't have access to cultivated mushrooms. And so in something that's a Schedule 1 drug, maybe the 4-ACO is going to be better suited to do some of these research studies. And this is the way that it's been used. It does have a psychoactive effect,
Hmm.
but it's a very different effect than taking psilocybin mushrooms. And so it's a little bit shorter acting. It's not quite visual. For some people, they get really nervous and they get some jitters.
Oh.
And in some cases, just based on where you're getting this 4-ACO, I've never seen it, but I know a lot of brands are using it because you do get that psychoactive effect,
Hmm.
not the Schedule 1 mushroom that everybody wants, the organic stuff.
Hmm.
So there's a legal loophole to be able to sell this stuff bulk. But the problem I have with it is it will give a psychedelic effect, but it's different and it's not mushrooms. And so my only thing, anybody that has these brands that have come out and just say no organic material, contains no mushrooms, contains no mushroom material. You don't have to say synthetic research chemical, which is basically what it is.
Yeah.
That would probably kill your positioning in the market, but at least say on the packaging contains no mushrooms.
Yeah, totally.
So that's where we are. We got producers of organics, people that are more on the therapeutic side. We believe in the ripple effect that psychedelics can have if they're used safely with the right patients, the right customers, ruling out those that aren't right for this at this time.
Hmm.
Making practitioners and facilitators are vetted and trusted and safe.
Hmm.
And that the medicine is organic and is dosed appropriately. This is what the PsiloSafe movement is all about. And we believe that it's here from a more therapeutic purpose. The recreational side, buyer beware. If you're
Hmm.
buying drugs in gas stations and bodegas and
On Instagram.
creme, you're going to get, hey, look, I'm no stranger to buying some street drugs. I've been around, I've done the raves and the Grateful Dead concerts and fish
It was the only way to do it.
with own. But now if you're interested in the psychedelic movement for the therapeutic purposes of sacred earth medicines being used in conjunction with psychotherapy, follow us. Follow Sets. This is the crew that you want to get involved with. If you're looking to chomp a gas station polka dot bar and feel a little funny for a few hours, that's cool too. But these things are different. And somebody who's putting 4-ACO DMT into a chocolate bar and saying it's mushrooms on it is antithetical to everything that this movement that we're working on has gone for it. And I would see like Diamond Shrooms, for instance. It's a brand that just got brought up on an FDA recall. FDA is now testing and recalling black market shroom bars.
Hmm.
But now it's right. And all we need is one black swan event where a mushroom product that makes no mushrooms kills this whole movement. And then we're back to where we were back in 1969. And so it's just we have to be very cautious. And I think from PsiloSafe's perspective and for you and I, people that are in the industry, consumer education is so key. And then setting up these self-regulating structures and actually just giving a shit about what we're doing out here and understanding the impact that it can have both in a positive and negative way when we make strategic business decisions.
Yeah, so I know that whether people are listening, just in general, we all like to have a comparison. It helps us understand whether it's science or a scenario. So when you think about 4-ACO DMT, if you know anything about Delta 8 in cannabis, so Delta 8 there's THC 9 and there's THC 8. And Delta 8 is when CBD actually from the hemp plant degrades, it creates THC 8. And so that is has 60% of the psychoactive effect of the THC that we walk into a dispensary to purchase. When it degrades in such a small amount, there's actually no way for the Delta 8 that we purchase online or at gas stations to be anything but synthetic, right? So you're talking about a synthetic when it comes to Delta 8. You're talking about always going to be a synthetic when it comes to 4-ACO DMT. And as we discussed earlier in the conversation, it's always better the closer you are to the natural compound, right? So you're just not going to have the experience really that you've been sold, right, by the headlines. Hey, this mushroom, psilocybin mushroom can change your life. You're not going to get that out of this synthetic. I'm curious if you think, you said you've never seen for ACO. I just wonder if it's crystal or powder or liquid in terms of cross-contamination with fentanyl. It's powder. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, of course, there's the fentanyl epidemic is
Real.
a now, and so that is a
Yeah.
potential. I think that the potential for harm with that would be these bulk producers that are using
Right.
different inputs to create it or different solvents in the process. And so I think that's where we're really going to see, again, there's no standardization. With the mushroom, it's growing from earth, from your substrate. Pretty hard to mess that up. But as long as it's been handled properly and there's no mold on it or
Yeah.
any mold, you're good. But dealing with
Yeah.
a recent chemical that's probably coming in from China in bulk, I'm not interested in it. I've got a little vial of it in my place, but it was just given to me as, hey, what if anybody wants to try this out? Because again, there's a huge market for it. So many bulk manufacturers of these products that are putting it in there. As a matter of fact, like I would say 90% of the stuff that you're going to see in a bodega, in a bong shop,
Yeah.
on the Instagram, that doesn't contain any mushrooms.
So if they're selling Delta 8 at this store, they're probably selling this, is what
Yeah.
I think, right? It's the same loophole.
Well, Delta 8 THC is a very similar loophole, except that's actually hemp and running a chemical process on it to make the non-psychoactive CBD psychoactive with THC Delta 8. And so there's another loophole there. It's just people with different analog loopholes and different drugs will continue to go down these rabbit holes forever because they don't want to be the target of law enforcement.
Yeah.
What I right now is that in the mushroom movement, that it's not a target of law enforcement. I don't think law enforcement has the time, effort, energy, or resources to go after people that are using earth-based medicines for mental health and wellness. I think where you're going to see some law enforcement come in would probably be with this 4-ACO stuff.
Yeah.
Now that the diamond shroom situation and the FDA recall is now on the map, I would say trying to take a closer look at the producers of those products that are selling through the bodegas. I was down at the Fremont Street Experience in Las Vegas a couple months ago when we were out there for the PsyCon conference.
Mhm.
Crazy. It was just like shrooms, mushrooms. And you would go into those places and they would have probably literally 10 or 12 different brands, chocolates, gummies, some cool beverage type stuff. And I asked the person that was working the counter there straight up, I said, do any of these products that are they're bringing people in with a huge sign that says mushrooms in color, I'm like, do any of them actually contain mushrooms?
Mhm.
And he said, only this one right here. And
She actually knew. She knew.
Yeah, they'll shoot you straight. At least in that case, the only one contained a non-detectable version of psilocybin extract.
And is that because it was water-based? There's an
This
extraction process that can help. Yeah.
detectable extract that's being used out there for product production, which I would back that 100 times more than any of the 4-ACO products. But again, this is where we're at. So from a law enforcement perspective, microdosing and small sub or mildly perceptive, it's not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. There's so many other things out there. Law enforcement only has so many time and resource between the fentanyl epidemic and guns and terrorism and AI scams and child trafficking. This
we've
is,
got some.
I think, moving in a way that's mindful with safety, making sure you're staying out of the hands of children, making sure you're ruling out people with predisposed issues that shouldn't be on psychedelics. If you're involved in the movement, you should be just fine if those things are being taken care of. And you're not out there trying to exploit the movement, driving some crazy car or trying to ride the wave for very obvious personal benefit. We're in the right space.
Can we talk about the testing?
This comes back to PsiloSafe. Test them for potency. They're consistent. People are taking them in the morning, jumping on Zoom calls, going to work. Either they would prefer the sub-perceptual dose where they're not feeling anything, or the light perceptual dose where they're feeling a little something. And then a hot batch of mushrooms that were pretty potent. That was a different experience, and that caught a couple people off guard. The importance of testing the mushroom material before it goes into any manufacturing process.
We hear this term functional mushrooms a lot.
Nootropics and adaptogens that are used in conjunction with a microdosing protocol. You don't want to take a microdose every day, obviously, right? You want to take like it every other day or every fourth day, depending on whose protocol you're following. But
Sure.
speaking of people in the loop, having that enhanced or having that some other functional mushroom product that they can use on the dosing days off is a good way to keep people dialed in. And there's just so many benefits overall, physically, spiritually, psychologically, to just the functional stuff without the psychoactive that it provides a really good adjunct.
Joe is definitely a person that is spreading the good word in the industry and starting to get some attention. So yeah, find him if you can.
Yeah, I'll close it out with this. We started talking, why are you in it? I'm in it because I really do want to promote this movement. I want to be a part of this movement. Nobody is in psychedelics that hasn't had some groundbreaking experience that has changed the trajectory of their lives. Nobody, me included. I've been close to the medicine since I was in college. I did 3 shamanic led, very high dose journeys when I was living in Bali in 2018 and 2019. I worked with a shaman over there to conduct those at my own villa. That really got me into it for non-recreational purposes, but for real therapeutic purposes. And then microdosing has helped me out personally. As I said with my past, I think that everybody wants to shit on pharma, but I think there's a place for pharma. I just also think that there's a place for organic substances, earth-based medicine that are used in community-based settings. And I'll repeat it again, PsiloSafe is here to help perpetuate the safe growth of those community health-based, mental health-based initiatives. We've got about 10 brands that are in the PsiloSafe network. We're so eager to learn and share best practices and like, where are you getting your stuff tested at and what potency level are you manufacturing your capsules with and what device you're using to manufacture your capsules. And do you have a good gummies producer that can produce pectin-based vegan gummies that are low sugar? Clients really want those. And
That's right.
so like, these are the conversations that we're having. How do I label this stuff? What type of warnings do we need to have? When does it go bad? Should I have a born-on date on my packaging? Because mushrooms do degrade. So
yeah,
they're trying to wrap a big bow about what we talked about today, but this is why we're in it. And eventually you do good work, you'll make a living out of it. And I know that will happen eventually. And I don't deter anybody from making a good living, especially when there's a karmatic component here where we're actually helping people and then we're making. But that's where we're at right now. My main objective is softening this market and educating this market so that we can launch in the most ethical, impactful way possible. Consumer education, producer education, PsiloSafe certified. Let's go.
that's right. I'm really happy to know you. I feel like really, yeah.
From the jump, just such a solid connection.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for today's show. I'm April, and I'll be back the next installment of SetSet Show, where we cover everything you need to have a safe, supported psychedelic experience in the wild.